Well, welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ daily evening television news show. We're broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels.
We are proud to announce that YouTube has recognized Queer News Tonight, certified by analytics company vidIQ, as the world's most popular LGBTQ streaming news show. Queer news stories have reached over 10 million views.
We are proud that Queer News Tonight has more YouTube subscribers than any other LGBTQ brand in Florida. We thank you for watching and supporting our voice in the LGBTQ community.
There is no other news program in the LGBTQ world like Queer News Tonight.
It is Monday, May 5th. Happy Cinco de Mayo. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
You're watching Queer News Tonight, the world's first daily LGBTQ evening news show.
Welcome to the world's most important LGBTQ evening news show.
Hotspots Magazine's Happening Out television network is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ community.
Our nonprofit mission is to support the 11 pillars of our LGBTQ community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of lesbian, trans, Latino, Black, healthcare, seniors, students, faith, social justice, business, and queer culture. Help us support our diverse community. We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ nonprofit media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
In 2025, our magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ experience, and Queer News Tonight is celebrating our 5th anniversary with more than 10,000 LGBTQ television stories. We will produce the 25th anniversary of our Stonewall Pride Parade and Festival on June 14th. We present Pride Fest in August, and we are proud to bring you Pride Fort Lauderdale on February 14th. Our magazine, events, television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ and broader community.
In 2025, more than 100 community leader anchors will host this show to support the LGBTQ community. I'm your lead anchor, Al Ferguson, and let's meet today's anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome anchor Camille Lewis. She is a speaker, advocate, facilitator, educator, and consultant. She is one of Florida's strongest trans activist voices as a woman of color. Camille, Back to Black returns to celebrate Black LGBT culture on June 6th. Tell me what's happening.
On June 6th, from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m., Back to Black will take over the Manor Live for a vibrant night celebrating LGBTQ identity. This high-energy event unites innovators, creators, and community leaders through dynamic performances and immersive entertainment. Designed as a bold affirmation of intersectionality, the night performances promises music, art, and movement rooted in both pride and culture, organized with inclusivity, and at its heart, Back to Black offers a safe, expressive space for all. Tickets start at just $10, inviting a wide audience to join the celebration. For more information, available at backtoblack.com. That sounds like an event I need to be at.
Yeah.
I have my dancing shoes on.
Yeah. I think it's important in Wilton Manors especially. Frequently, we talk about male, white, and Wilton Drive. And so every time we have an opportunity that we can expand space for women, for trans, for people of color, we're doing the right thing in Wilton Manors.
Well, it sounds like a fantastic Pride Month event. But Could you maybe do it from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.? Because 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. I'll be asleep for 2 hours by that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think so. But we'll
My
pass
sister
that on.
Fran and I'll be out
Take it
there.
into
You know, we'll be
consideration.
out there dancing the night away.
Sounds like a great event, and you're right what you said earlier. Wilton Manors does need more inclusivity
Yeah.
and more representation from different,
And it's always
people.
interesting, isn't it, that in the LGBTQ community, so centric in Wilton Manors, and we are talking about greater need for diversity, which is just like almost every other city in America. It's interesting. Well, that is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing. And Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at Back to Black on June 6th. Let's welcome anchor Franchesca D'Amore. She is an advocate and holistic life coach. She is the founder of TransEd and an executive committee member of the Broward Regional HIV Planning Council. Franchesca, TransEd is going to march in the Wilton Manor Stonewall Pride Parade on June 14. Tell me what's happening.
Well, yes, TransEd will proudly participate in the Wilton Manor Stonewall Pride Parade on Saturday, June 14th, 2025 at 8 p.m. And that's nighttime. There'll be lights. It's going to be fabulous. And after all, who doesn't love a parade, right? So this will be held in Wilton Manors. The vibrant parade celebrates LGBTQ pride and unity. TransEd, a South Florida-based organization focused on education solutions for transgender non-binary young adults, will use this platform to raise awareness about our GED and scholarship programs. We will be riding in style in the parade with our amazing ambassadors, my baby Joey Young, who is the newly crowned Miss Continental newcomer. Yes, I am mother who's proud. And King Adonis, who is actually local to South Florida, the newly crowned Mr. Continental newcomer, will also be riding with us in our TransEd debut in Fort Lauderdale. More details about the parade are available on stonewallpride.lgbt.
Exciting that TransEd is going to be in Stonewall Pride.
Yeah.
Faye and I will call out to you very specifically. We're on the main
Yay.
stage broadcasting on television, and we'll draw attention to TransEd. I love the story. I love that y'all are doing this because, again, there's virtually no marginalized community greater in America than the trans community. And every opportunity we have to focus attention on the community and the positive nature of the community and to spotlight what our community is going through. You can't have LGBTQ without the T, and TransEd's participation in Stonewall is a
Absolutely.
representation of
And
that.
from an educational, point of view, TransEd, we work with young adults 18 to 34 primarily, who are working on their GED certifications. And right now we have 12 students. Everything's done virtually. We have tutors. And we found that a lot of our students have an education from 4th grade to 10th grade. So we do things really slowly at the student's pace. It might take 2 to 3 years to get the GED, but it's in essence a high school education. So it's all done virtually, respectfully, with understanding of everybody's pronouns and what have you. So we're really excited. And then this year we're giving out college scholarships. We're giving out $12,500 in scholarships this year. So for vocational school and for college. So we're really excited about where we're going, and we expect more people to call us in the future. So go check us out, transed.org.
That's a beautiful message in terms of the education, but let's not let it go unnoticed. Mr. and Miss Continental newcomer.
Continental.
Of course.
That is awesome.
You're a mother
If
of
you're
a
not a pageant fan,
No.
go look it up. You'll go, wait, what?
And have you
great.
been practicing the wave?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be sitting
No,
in the front
Francesca has done
crocheting.
that.
Oh, you're
No,
I've done it so many
no,
times.
no.
Practicing the cry.
What have you
has
Mother
been-
of
I will be
Practicing
crying,
the cry.
and the babies will be waving in the
Right,
back, and I'm happy with that.
This is my daughter,
And-
Miss Continental newcomer.
There we go.
Exactly. And at the end of the show, I'm going to give you the $20 bill for the loaf of bread you're going to throw at Faye's head.
Oh, never.
So that is a big LGBTQ story for today. There's no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBT stories by subscribing and sharing. And Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at Wilton Manors Stonewall Pride Parade on June 14th. Well, let's welcome anchor Gregg Shapiro. He's an inductee into the Chicago LGBT Hall of Fame. Gregg is an entertainment journalist whose celebrity interviews and reviews run in a variety of regional LGBTQ publications and websites. Gregg, Desert Hearts is having a screening at Stonewall Museum on May 8th, and you're hosting it. Tell me what's happening.
I sure am, Al. And on May 8th, I will be hosting a special screening of the classic lesbian film Desert Hearts at 6:30 p.m. at Stonewall National Museum and Archives and Library in Fort Lauderdale. It's presented in collaboration with Out South Florida. This Thursday movie night event celebrates Donna Deutsch's, gonna hold it again, 1985 romantic drama which tells the story of Vivian Bell and Kay Rivers, two women who fall in love against the odds in 1959 Nevada. That's, 60-something years ago. Now known for its groundbreaking portrayal of lesbian romance, Desert Hearts remains a cultural touchstone. For more information, visit stonewall-museum.org. You must come, please.
You're so
Promise me,
passionate
you
about
guys.
it. The way
You'll love it.
you threw it out there. Like, that
It's
really means a lot for you.
sexy, it's touching, but you shouldn't be touching yourself while you're watching the movie. But it's a great movie. Gay male movies have tended to be sort of gotten more attention. The lesbian movies don't have such great history, so this one is really special, and it's 40 years old, and it still stands up.
Yeah. One of the things that's interesting to me about this, Gregg, is the Stonewall Museum seems to have a really rich, growing women's focused programming at the museum. This kind of catches me a little by surprise that first the museum would host a film screening, which I don't know why I'm surprised, because it's completely natural. But I love that the Stonewall National Museum, the women's programming is growing there, and it's one of the places where is voicing support of women's culture.
That's right.
And so great.
Well,
great that you're doing.
this series has been going on since the beginning of the year. My husband Rick and I alternate, so I'll do a queer movie and he'll do a campy movie. So he did Anti-Mame, and he did Connie and Carla.
Oh, yeah.
And I did Parting Glances and some other queer movies. So we sort of alternate. It's been really wonderful.
Yeah.
So this is the May title.
Yeah, lots of fun. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing. And Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at Desert Hearts with Gregg Shapiro, the film screening at Stonewall National Museum on May 8th.
And of course, let's welcome tonight's lead anchor, Al Ferguson. Al worked with RuPaul's Drag Race cruise and travel programs for 8 years, and then came to Hotspots Happening Out to work on the television development of Happening Out Television Network. He was the creator of its Happening Out, Faye What Show, Queer God Squad, and this program, Queer News Tonight. He is the Hotspots Happening Out Vice President of Community Development. Al? Margaret Cho returns to the Parker for Global Pride on May 16th. Tell us what's happening.
Well, who doesn't love Margaret Cho? The legendary comedian Margaret Cho returns to Fort Lauderdale with her Live and Livid comedy tour on Friday, May 16th at 7:30 p.m., performing at the Parker. Cho will headline the Global Pride celebration that she is doing with her signature fearless humor. Known for tackling taboo topics like race, sex, politics, identity, Cho was named one of Vogue's top 9 female comedians of all time. That's not LGBT, that's all female comedians. Her unapologetic style continues to challenge and charm audiences worldwide. Tickets start at just $45 and are available now. For more information, visit margaretcho.com. Now, I was with you, Gregg, the last time Margaret Cho was in town, and you interviewed her, and we went down, and I was kind of in the behind the scenes of watching you do that. She showed up in, I can't even tell you what she was wearing, and some kind of clogs or something.
She had the dog.
And she had her little dog, and it was like she came off the elevator, and it was like, oh my God, this is classic Margaret Cho. And she was, no disrespect to her, but she was very deadpan. And Gregg did the interview, and it was a great interview, and she was great in the answers, but it was so un-Margaret Cho. And then that night, you watch her get on the stage,
You
and
saw
she's
authentic
like
Margaret Cho.
and then Margaret Cho showed up.
A lot of artists are like that. Like Bette Midler on a one-on-one is very different than the Bette Midler you see on stage.
Yeah.
Some people don't know how to turn it off. I'm not going to name any names, but Margaret is really amazing.
Roseanne.
Yeah, really. And if you want, you can read my interview with her in the new issue of South Florida magazine. She is always a delight, and she's so smart, and she's so supportive of the community.
Yeah. Well, and I'll hold the article up one more time. I told Gregg tonight at the show. I read the article, got excited all over again. A fabulous picture of Margaret.
They did a great job.
Nice job. And Out South Florida is doing a really good job with that magazine. It represents our community really, really well. Congratulations, Out South Florida. Well, that's a big LGBT story for today. There's no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBT stories by subscribing and sharing. And Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at Margaret Cho for Global Pride at the Parker, May 16th. Well, now let's dive deep into this big LGBT story for today. I'm Al Ferguson, and let's queer up South Florida and Florida. Mark Kent celebrates his 10th anniversary as Executive Director of the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida. This month, Mark Kent celebrates a decade as Executive Director of the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida. Since joining in May of 2015, Kent has led the business side of the organization, helping grow its annual budget to over $1 million and expanding its reach to more than 30,000 people each year. With over 35 years of experience in arts education and community programs, Kent previously held leadership roles at the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra, at Cobb Energy Performing Arts Center, and other programs like that. His leadership continues to shape GMCSF as a regional treasure and a national voice in LGBTQ and choral arts. The GMCSF, Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida, has grown under Mark's leadership into one of the world's largest LGBTQ cultural performing arts organizations. Mark is with us in studio to celebrate this incredible and important milestone. So first, Mark, congratulations.
Thank you. I made it.
10 years, right? I am one that always makes jokes. People in community make jokes at hotspots happening out of me on age. I won't make an age joke unless it's a funny age joke.
Okay, you can.
No.
We got to laugh, right?
Yeah, exactly. I want to start in talking about this journey. It's such an interesting time for us. So the first thing I'm interested in is 10 years. It's a big milestone. In gay years, it's 10, but in everyone else's, that's like 30 in survivability. What's the 10 years been like for you?
It's been, I think a journey is a good word to describe it, because we started in one place and we've progressed to where we are today. And like a lot of journeys, I didn't go it alone. I've encountered so many wonderful people along the path, and they've inspired me, have enriched me, and really have fueled me to keep going year after year. And then ultimately seeing the impact that the chorus makes in the community, that's the payback I get.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to me. I think very interesting because you became executive director in May of 2015. Now everybody knows exactly where I'm going with on this question. It was just 1 month later that one of the greatest moments in American LGBT history happens, and that is the Supreme Court makes marriage equality the law of the land. And by the way, everything ended. We got everything we wanted. We never needed anything else after June. Well, wait, maybe not. But you launched your journey in this exact same time period of leading the GMCSF. What were those initial days, like that first 90 days? You're definitely in honeymoon. You're in the first 100 days of your position, and marriage equality gets legal from the Supreme Court. The White House becomes a rainbow. Worldwide celebration, and you as executive director of the Gay Men's Course. What were those days 10 years ago like?
Well, as we know, South Florida is one of the meccas for the LGBT community, and to have something like that occur nationally, it had really, really strong impacts on our life down here in South Florida. It just so happens we had a concert the week after marriage equality became a reality for our community, and we packed it to the rafters. We were at Bailey Hall. We were picketed, but we did our concert.
The chorus was picketed. The concert.
Oh yeah.
In Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
Oh my, that's just unbelievable. And the time in that first 100 days, you went through the picket, all of the celebration in America and worldwide. Did you have any perspective as the new executive director? You had lots of experience, as I indicated in your introduction, but did you have any indication of where the course was really going to go over the next 10 years? You started in that milestone. You're celebrating the milestone 10 years later. Was your crystal ball good enough to see this is where we're going to take the course in South Florida?
It was not good enough.
Yeah.
I was hopeful, and I was surrounded by people who were full of ambition and big dreams, and I was fueled by that. I wanted to feed into those dreams and do everything I could to make them a reality. So I found that this community was eager and willing to support a course like this. So I really took the helm with a sense of, well, let's take this where it's going to go and see what happens.
You know, as exciting of those first 100 days, not to be negative, but I have to talk about today also in relation to this anniversary. It's 10 years later. And now we're living with DeSantis and LGBTQ grant cancellations that the course has faced here in Florida. We're dealing with a president in the White House who is in the heart of the greatest elimination of diversity, equity, and inclusion we've probably ever seen. And certainly, I'm a contemporary of yours in age, that we've ever seen in our life. What are the days today? You're celebrating your 10th anniversary. What is it like for you and the course today, given the adversaries we face?
You know, it's interesting because there's such a contrast between how it feels today versus the time period you just mentioned, which is when I started. That was such a celebratory time, and we really felt we were on this trajectory up in terms of securing our rights and our equality in society. Now I'm surrounded by wonderful people who are inspired, but they're also afraid, you know, and we're holding our breath to see what's going to be chipped away and taken from us next. But we're determined. We're also stubborn that we're not going to let it.
That fear, that afraid that you talk about, does that include members of the chorus? Do you you feel the fear in the chorus itself?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've even had a member of the chorus accosted on the streets in Wilton Manor with somebody who literally went right up to his face and showered anti-LGBT slurs and ugliness all over him verbally, so much so it frightened him, and he withdrew from the chorus.
Oh my, that's a terrible story. I'm sorry to hear that. It just means that we've got to work harder. You've got to work harder. You're the executive director. Yes. We charge the leadership to you. Speaking of the members of the chorus, let's talk about them for a moment. The chorus is made up. If you haven't been to a Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida concert, you're missing it. I've been to many, many, many. It's wonderful because while you may be full of divas, your divas aren't getting paid any money. So they're volunteering their efforts, and there's over 180 volunteer performers. They always strike me as so dedicated and passionate and, well, proud. What drives the enthusiasm of members to participate in a voluntary basis? I've heard so many times that being a member of the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida is as great a political statement as advocating at the task force or the HRC. What motivates your members?
Well, they really want to make a difference. They love to sing. But they can love to sing and sing at home by themselves in the shower. But singing to make a difference is really important to them. That's why they put in all the hours and the time. They're eager to get their song out so that it reaches the ears of our audiences. They love feeling the way that the audience responds and is moved and inspired and uplifted by what they do. And you're right, we are a visible, positive representation of the LGBT community. Our messages of love and inclusion are more important now than they ever have been. And I have one of my brothers even said to me, said, if I had a small child that I wanted to introduce to the LGBT community, where would we go? Where would we go? And he said, we would go to a Gay Men's Chorus concert.
That's a lovely story. When we do a celebration of a milestone like this, 10 years of your leadership of one of the greatest LGBT cultural institutions in America, performance arts organizations in America. There's good times, there's bad times. I'm always curious about both. Over your last 10 years, what has been your greatest single disappointment? 10 years, it was that moment. Is there a moment like that?
Oh yeah, I mean, it easily had to be COVID. We had our annual gala fundraiser 4 days before everything shut down, and having to deal with this health departments contacting donors, people who came to the event to support us, and let them know that somebody at the event was positive with COVID, and we knew nothing about it at the time. It was terrifying. We didn't know if we would ever sing again.
For audience members that might not know that story, it led tragically to deaths, didn't it? Yeah. And did you wonder, would the chorus survive that?
Yeah, I wondered if people were going to forgive the chorus for being in a situation that was dangerous. Fortunately, they didn't let their fear take hold, and they realized there was no way any of us could have known anything about what was really going on at that time.
It was nobody's responsibility.
It was nobody's responsibility. But it was one of those things. So,
were you able to work through the guilt of that time period, though? As executive director, it's not your responsibility, but you're human. Were you able to work through that, or are you still working through that? Or
no, I very much came to terms with the fact that we never know what's going to happen when we walk out of our door on a daily basis. In this instance, for that poor individual, it happened to be the virus. For someone else, it could be a car wreck. It could be something beyond their control that impacts their life and takes it.
Yeah, I'm Gloria Gaynor is playing in my head right now, and I'm glad you were able to survive it. That's the most difficult in the 10 years. But let's flip it. What has been the single greatest moment for you in the last 10 years?
I think probably when we attend the Gala Festival, which is a huge gathering of LGBT choruses from all over the country, but really many from other countries as well. And having our ensemble show up and be treated with such respect. Now, I actually came down with COVID and couldn't go, but I watched the performances online.
To Minneapolis or the one before?
Minneapolis.
Oh.
And of course, was rabidly connected with everyone there. And my colleagues at the other choruses were reaching out to me to celebrate how wonderfully we were doing, not just singing, but also in terms of connecting and bringing a new energy to the Gala chorus movement. It was, for me, I was so proud that outside of our own community, on a national level, we were recognized and celebrated the way we were.
It's interesting, to those who have not been to a Gay Men's Chorus concert, you must. There's still some opportunity in this season, especially in June Pride Month. I have to tell you, Mark, sitting outside the chorus, I can make the observation, there's really a big 5 or a big 6 or maybe a big 7, Boston and Washington and San Francisco, etc. But South Florida is right in that inner circle of the best in the entire world. You must be very proud of that.
Oh, I'm incredibly proud. You know, our current artistic director, Gabe Salazar, he's a remarkable human being and a gifted artistic director and music director. And we have amazing board and leadership and, of course, our dedicated singers. I'm proud that all of that has come together in a way that creates magic, and that we have reached the level of accomplishment that we have.
You know, you mentioned Gabe, the music director here at Sunshine, doing a fabulous job. But for me, I would say in the time that I've been here 7 years, that is representation of probably one of the greatest successes for you and the chorus. You had an iconic creative director of the Gay Men's Chorus. I mean, literally in America, iconic. And the transition of a choral director can be traumatic on an organization. And not only did you celebrate that transition, someone else comes in and proves it's not a one single person, it's our overall organization. And Gabe has proven the organization is going to be great, period. And to me, that is representation of tremendous leadership and tremendous success of the chorus. Do you agree with that idea?
Oh, no, I would definitely agree with it. Artistic director changing out is like a church having their pastor or their minister change out, or a restaurant having their chef change. Those who come after will bring a different flavor, a different approach, their own personal style. But when you make the right match with culture and beliefs and values, they bring the talent in a way that elevates versus causing any setbacks.
Yeah. I can't have you here at Queer News tonight without talking about the future. The chorus, like most cultural institutions here in South Florida, have a season, and our season's getting ready to end. Your season is a little longer because we have June Pride Month, as opposed to the ballet or the symphony orchestra, etc. So we still have more to celebrate, and let's look at a couple of things. Up next is a concert called Simply Sondheim. Of course, every gay man, every LGBT person loves Stephen Sondheim. And you have a concert on Saturday, May 17th at Fort Lauderdale's United Church of Christ. And it's your specialty chorus. Tell us a little bit about what's happening there.
Sure. Our specialty chorus is called Tropical Wave. And they're an ensemble of about 20 singers. They put in extra time, work on music that's unique to them, and they're auditioned to be in that group in a way that helps ensure that they're incredibly capable and competent. And they come together and produce their own sound and their own approach to music in a way that is really extraordinary. I think.
They're fun to watch. They incorporate numbers in the main concerts through the year. They're just fun to watch and highly specialized. And then, of course, we have June Pride Month. And one of the things that we would mention that Hotspots and Happening Out is participating. We're helping you with a major fundraiser. We're participating in a raffle of a $28,000 trip to Peru. You've got to look at it online. It's quite amazing. It's the partnership between Hotspots Happening Out and Stonewall Pride. Tell me about the idea of doing a fundraiser as unique as going to Peru. Unique and different for a course, but I imagine you have to figure out ways to raise money in every possible way possible.
We can leave no stone unturned in this day and age. And what I like about this is the partnership aspect of it, and we're so incredibly grateful to be a beneficiary of that effort. But it's a good example of how when we come together in our community and work together towards a common cause of good, we can make great things happen.
Yeah, and it's tied with, of course, Hotspots Happening Out puts on Stonewall Pride. Make sure you're there. June 14th, Saturday, June 14th, a big parade and celebration in Wilton Manors. And then the following Saturday, the 21st, is your signature event of the entire calendar year, and that is the June Pride concert. And I love the title of it. It's called Dazzling Divas. I mean, if we could be any gayer, we just couldn't possibly be any gayer. It's going to be at the Parker, June 21st. Tell me about what's happening there.
Well, it's so funny because people think of a gay men's chorus and they think that we don't embrace those who identify as female in our community and in society, but that's completely untrue. And Dazzling Divas really is a nod to so many of the women entertainers who got us on the dance floor.
Cher.
Oh yeah,
Bette Midler, Barbara Streisand.
Yeah, decades upon decades of them, and we've got a great lineup of amazing music done by amazing women, and many of them have been very vocal advocates for the LGBT community, so they deserve to be celebrated as part of our heritage.
Yeah, and you can get tickets. We're going to tell you about how to do that. You don't want to miss it. One of the things that's amazing about the chorus is, as fun as this Pride celebration concert with Dazzling Divas is going to be, the last concert that I went to was at Sunshine Performing Arts Center, and you did the Black History Month program, and that was one of the finest programs I've ever seen the chorus do, and it was completely unexpected. And to be honest with you, I went to that concert going, gosh, I hope it's going to be Dazzling Divas. And it definitely wasn't. And it was just beautifully done. I walked away from it just overwhelmed at the impact that gay men and an LGBT chorus voice could have in dealing with a subject as difficult as that. It was absolutely beautiful. I can't let you go, Mark, without talking about sponsors. We talked about the beginning being so great and what you're facing now in year 10. And sponsors is a big issue. In a time when we are watching Targets and Budweisers and other major corporations step back away from LGBT community embracement, it's one of the issues that definitely affects our LGBT organizations, our nonprofits, but also our performing arts organizations like the Gay Men's Chorus. And embracement for the GMCSF is never been more important. And lo and behold, you come out with a notice about an expanded relationship with the Seminole Hard Rock, which I think is interesting. A lot of people don't realize that the Seminole tribe and our landmark Hard Rock, Seminole Hard Rock Hotel, owns all of the Hard Rocks in the entire world.
Yes.
This is a major corporation worldwide. And your holiday concert in December at Hard Rock Live is iconic. But let's break some news today, and having the opportunity of Mark being sitting here at Queer News Tonight. The Chic and Unique Ball, which is their largest fundraiser of the year, will return, and I'm breaking the news of it, Saturday, November 1st. And it's going to be called Step Into Burlesque. And I can just break out into share as I give you this breaking news. But the great thing about this breaking news, it is going to be the first time ever that it is hosted at the Seminole Hard Rock. That is amazing. That's different than a concert experience.
Yes.
Of gala fundraiser. That is an embracement from the corporate side of the company to say, you matter and we stand with you. Tell me about that.
Well, an annual gala like ours and like many organizations is important, really primarily to raise the funds we need to operate year-round. But it's also important to bring what I call our family, the clan, which includes our donors, our audiences, our singers, leaders in the community, all together in one place to celebrate the chorus and the impact we make. This relationship with Hard Rock is incredible, and for them to embrace us for our fundraiser says a lot about their commitment to diversity and serving a broader community.
Yeah, and we congratulate Seminole Hard Rock Live, the Gay Men's Chorus. It's a very unique partnership that means a whole lot to our entire community right now. One final question, Mark. I'm often asked about prides and parades. I broadcast the parade with Faye at Stonewall, our nonprofits, and I'm asked frequently, why is all of this so important today for LGBT? We've arrived, we're accepted. Why is it important? So I ask you, today, your 10th anniversary here in May of 2025, why is the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida important to our community today?
Because we are seeing a huge rise in populations that want to silence us. And at a time when people are trying to stifle our voice, it's more important that we sing louder and prouder than ever, and not let it bring us down. We're here to keep the joy. We're here to reinforce the pride. We're here to give our community strength and to show the rest of the world the best of the LGBT community.
Yeah, I think very well said. We're not going back into the closet.
Nope.
We're just not. Congratulations, Mark Kent. 10 years of anniversary at the Gay Men's Chorus. It is a major and important achievement. And you can learn more about the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida, all kinds of information about them at gmcsf.org. Support them, buy concert tickets, buy raffle tickets, but most importantly of all, stand up and voice support for them and that our community matters. All you have to do is sing. That's it. Well, that is a big LGBT story for today. Thank you, Mark Kent. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBT stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight. Well, now let's dive deep into this big breaking news LGBT story for today. I'm Al Ferguson, and let's queer up the USA view. Friday, Pittsburgh gay bar's drag show has a police raid, and it stirs the memory of Stonewall in 1969. A heavy-handed police raid at a Pittsburgh gay bar Friday night is stirring powerful echoes of Stonewall for many in the LGBTQ community. According to local LGBTQ outlet Berg, and congratulations to you on this story, P-Town Bar, a well-known queer establishment, was raided by approximately 20 Pennsylvania State Police officers in full tactical uniform and additional undercover agents during a drag performance. Now, the drag show starred the famous queen and trans activist Amanda Lepore. Around 11:30 p.m., roughly 70 patrons, bar staff, and the drag queens were forced out onto the street while police conducted an unspecified inspection inside. Officers offered no explanation at the time on why the raid occurred. Since the raid, there has been an active social media response. Some Facebook users noted that 3 other non-LGBT bars in the city were also raided that night. But the aggressive police presence at a queer space, particularly during a drag show starring a trans performer, feels deeply familiar to many who remember or who have studied the 1969 raid on the Stonewall Inn, an event that sparked the modern queer rights movement. Social media comments made the connection to the Stonewall's trans activist Marsha P. Johnson and today's activist Amanda Lepore. Others alleged it may have had more to do with the current administration's aggressive enforcement on immigration. The story became even more complicated with no comment from the city or the bar as to the specifics over the raid throughout the weekend. P-Town Bar posted a message on social media over the weekend to reassure the community that the bar was open for business and remains, quote, steadfast in our promise to provide a safe and welcoming space to our LGBTQ plus community, end quote. The city issued a press release this morning acknowledging the growing attention the story was getting, but did not provide more details of the raid without being specific. Queer News Tonight reached out for further clarification, and P-Town provided us the following statement early this afternoon saying, quote, we apologize for the delay in addressing the events of this past Friday. It's been an overwhelming few days. During our Another Party event featuring Amanda Lepore, P-Town underwent a surprise inspection by Joint Task Force that included officers from LCP, State Police, Fire Department, and the Health Department. Per my understanding, these inspections, typically led by the LCP, are part of an effort to ensure establishments remain in compliance with PLCB regulations. While we're still unsure why P-Town was chosen that evening, we're choosing to view this as an opportunity for growth and improvement. When the officers arrived, we were asked to pause the event and have guests step outside while the inspection was carried out. The officers acted professionally. To my knowledge, no patrons were mistreated. Second, The inspection brought to light a few areas where we need to make improvements. We are committed to working diligently to comply with all city, county, and state regulations. Third, we want to thank our incredible staff and performers for their calm, professionalism, and grace under pressure. Special thanks to our talented drag performers who kept the spirit alive in spite of the disruption. We are also deeply grateful for the overwhelming support for their community. Your kind messages, offers of help and solidarity have meant so much. Pittsburgh, we love you. Thank you for standing by us. We look forward to welcoming you back to P-Town, end quote. Reddit today is filled with conversation that illuminates the fear the LGBTQ community is feeling in this unique time in our history. Many comments related to snatching grabs that have been seen in many videos across the country, and law enforcement that will not identify themselves by either name or purpose of action. It is unclear at this hour what the specifics of the raid were really all about, but it is clear it created great anxiety among the LGBTQ community in Pittsburgh and ripples across the nation. This is an incredibly interesting story. I posted early this morning in a lot of my social media feeds, and I got some pushbacks of going, one person said this is all fake news and talked about what the city was doing, and their press release explained everything. And my point to everyone was, wait, it can't be fake news because we don't know any of the details yet.
Right.
And so our story, our breaking news story, is we're still pursuing it because we don't have that information. Another thing that I think is very interesting is the reaction of the community, of the anxiety of so much police presence going into the bar. Amanda Lepore's on the stage, stop and get out of the bar and into the street. It creates a chill that I think we all understand. We're watching people that are masked claiming that they're security, they're police, they're whatever division of police, law enforcement it would be, state, local, federal, whatever it might be, and it's creating a chill for the community. And that, I think, is the most interesting thing that's happened over the weekend. We're all kind of sitting on edge. One last thing that I think is really interesting is Pittsburgh ain't no Wilton, Manors, or Fort Lauderdale. Because if this would have happened in Fort Lauderdale or Wilton, Manors Friday night, you would have all known about it at 11:41 p.m.
Exactly.
Because there would have been an explosion of 20 tactical officers going into a bar on Wilton Drive. So it's not a question of was there a technical issue or whatever the various issues would be. It's that there was no explanation of what was going on, and who are you to be able to do it. That's what is.
And I remember the Queerfolk, the American Queerfolk, was set in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, I'm trying to remember, was there ever an episode? There might have been an episode where there was a bar raid there.
Yeah.
But one of the things I was thinking about is that so many police departments have been recruiting LGBTQ people to be on the force. So I'm wondering if there were any LGBTQ cops on this during this raid, and how they handled themselves during a raid like this.
So for me, while you were covering the story, I was watching on the monitor, and if I can just speak to the situation and put some light to it, I saw you can't stop nothing. I saw resilience, because even when they were ushered outside, Amanda Lepore kept the energy going, and they were all instilling good peace, and it shows resilience. And I said that's like the best weapon that we have right now, is just complete and utter resilience. You put me out, you put me in a box, I guarantee you I'm gonna have a party in a box.
Sure.
So for me, I think that weakens the enemy, because it's like no matter what, okay, we put them in a box, we put them in a shoe box, we even put them in a ring box, and they still found we call Al, and he still put us a DJ system in the ring box, and we still had the best ride ever. So I think that's our best weapon right now, is just unapologetic resilience.
100%.
And they displayed that outside.
Years ago, I was actually in a raid in a bar in South Miami, and if you've ever been in a raid before, it's a really scary, intimidating situation. At that time, South Miami police, they were looking at people's IDs. You had to show them IDs. They were looking for drugs. a lot of drag queens were performing at that club at that time. I've been to Pittsburgh many times. My baby Joey Young is from Pittsburgh. I was there in January at P-Town. And I have to say the drag community and the trans community is very tight-knit in Pittsburgh. So I'm not surprised that they didn't just show resilience and, just kept their calm, because that's what they do in Pittsburgh. So kudos to them for keeping it together. It is a small bar with a lot of people in there. So they were talking about some compliance issues that they were working with, but definitely with that many police officers in a small bar, you have to wonder.
To that point, I fully acknowledge that there may be compliance issues that they're enforcing across the city of Pittsburgh, and it seems to me that is reasonable. We want safety, et cetera, and so on. But it's how you do it, and I really think that is at play. And I pretty much guarantee that of multiple bars that were affected like this on Friday night, while I appreciate the notes, of which we cannot prove that it is true, but there are many comments saying that there were other bars, maybe as many as 3, that faced the same thing, that were traditional market bars. I can almost guarantee, at least from my seat, it's an assumption, I'm making an assumption, that there are people in that bar that are perhaps immigrant, illegal, definitely trans, people of color, all of which are going to be triggered by the way you do it.
Right.
And even closeted people. There's somebody who's not out being in a situation like that.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that's what I think is at play here. The story is really the fear that we're all feeling, and this just feeds that fear. And that's why it's so important. The press release that the city has done, okay, well, we appreciate finally some words 3 days later of explaining what was going on, but the press release doesn't provide the kind of detail to really explain. Perhaps there's reasons why, I don't know that, but it doesn't provide the detail of why did this happen. Even in the statement that P-Town provides, not identified by name, by the way, but the entire bar says we still don't know why they came here. That's what has to be resolved. And I just, any voice that is hearing Wilton Manors, I can't really imagine this happening in Wilton Manors or Fort Lauderdale, but
you will be reporting live.
We'd be right there going, wait, tell us what you think.
We'll be reporting live.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll stay on top of this in this story and see where it goes. Well, that is a big LGBT story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBT stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight. Well, now let's dive deep into this big LGBT story for today. I'm Al Ferguson, and let's queer up the USA view. Naples Pride sues the city in federal court with the aid of the ACLU. Naples Pride has filed a federal lawsuit against the city of Naples for denying a special events permit to host a family-friendly drag performance in Cambier Park during its annual Pride Fest in June. The lawsuit, backed by the ACLU of Florida and law firm Patterson, Belknap, Webb, and Tyler, claims the city's actions violate the First Amendment. On May 2nd, Naples Pride's legal team delivered a powerful defense of free speech during a preliminary injunction hearing in federal court. A judge is expected to issue a ruling within a week, one that could determine whether Naples Pride can return its drag performance to the main stage of Naples Pride this June. The organization says the city's refusal follows years of hostility toward drag and LGBT events in the city. Since 2023, Naples has rejected permit applications if they included drag performances in public, forcing the event indoors and slashing its reach and revenue. The event in Naples reminds our community of Treasure Coast Pride in 2023, as that city enforced privacy fences to be constructed to continue Pride, so the main stage drag show could not be seen outside of the Pride Festival grounds. Samantha Past, LGBTQ+ rights staff attorney at the ACLU of Florida, said, quote, "The First Amendment ensures that viewpoint and content-based discrimination cannot infringe on freedom of speech and expression. Drag is an art form that holds great significance in the LGBTQ plus community, both as a form of social commentary and celebration. Drag is constitutionally protected, even if someone doesn't like it," end quote. Queer News Tonight will be attending Naples Pride and will continue to follow this story. You know, this story is actually simpler than we think. Naples is wrong. It's
Period.
simple. Period.
Period.
They have no constitutional grounds for it. If they did, drag would already be banned in the state of Florida. This issue has been decided. Hamburger Mary's in Orlando helped the federal judicial system decide this issue. You cannot ban drag performance based on this amorphic definition that somehow it is a sexual act that affects children. DeSantis and the radical voices in the state legislature tried to accomplish this, and they failed. And they failed spectacularly because they could not find ways to define that this was a sexual act and therefore would be defined like adult entertainment. The ACLU is getting ready to kick Naples' ass. Now, how quickly that happens, I don't know. That's the first thing. Until perhaps it gets all the way to the Supreme Court and a conservative majority reverses that. That's what the federal standing is currently.
Right.
The second thing is, I hope in doing this story and talking about Naples Pride, decision makers, tourism decision makers in Naples, Collier County, will watch a story like Queer News Tonight and say, you know, you're focusing attention on your community in a way that you do not want to focus. The vast majority of Americans do not agree with this. And you are taking the chance that the communities and people that would travel to Naples are not going to be 107 years old forever, and that they want it doesn't have to be a liberal, but they want a safe experience that's inclusive for everyone. And Naples is saying loud and clear, don't come here. And the ACLU, again, is going to kick their ass and show you why you shouldn't come to Naples, Collier County. I applaud Naples' decision, the ACLU's decision, that law firm's decision to stand up for the First Amendment, because the First Amendment is more important than anything else that we're talking about here, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We should let the Naples queers know they're always welcome over here in the blue bubble of South Florida. Come on over.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to see drag, close your windows. Go on a vacation. You know what date it is. Leave. Come back.
Yeah.
We just want space. Give us the space. We don't want anything else. Respect and space.
For sure. And 2023 was a tough year for prides, and the drag issue was really a big topic for all prides to really consider, because you didn't want to have like sponsors backing out, or the city even deeming, no, you can't have a pride next year.
Yeah.
But thank goodness that all was taken care
and for
of.
people that don't remember, I went to Port St. Lucie specifically for this reason. When I went to Port St. Lucie, the president of Port St. Lucie Pride was like this. And I understood it, and I had lots of empathy because they were under so much pressure about what was going on. But when I arrived at that Pride event, I was literally, the oxygen was pulled out of my lungs because the fencing of the Pride Festival grounds had big, I think 8-foot covers on the fence, so you could not see in. And the reason is there's some kind of shame going on the inside of these fences, and we want to protect you from these imaging. To me, the proof, I have long experience with RuPaul's Drag Race. RuPaul performed from the mid-90s until 2015, something big happened in 2016, but performed for 20 years and no one said a word. This is great. This is an art form. someone turned it into a political issue and then demonized it and then criminalized it and then tried to make it a legal issue. And Ron DeSantis is one of the people that tried to do that, and you failed spectacularly. And I really think that's what's going to happen in Naples. We'll keep you abreast of this story. That is a big LGBT story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Camille Lewis, and let's queer up gay culture. Queerphobic Fest is being planned in Boise. This is a doozy. Pride celebration. An anti-LGBT group in Idaho is making waves and raising eyebrows as it announcement of a so-called heterosexual awareness fest. What? Set for June 20 and 21 in downtown Boise, right in the middle of Pride Month. Critics worry events like this often mask homophobia under a thin veneer of patriotism and performative family values. The event website declares, quote, this ain't your limp wrist woke fest. This is a full-on celebration of family values with guts, end quote. What is that? The group behind the event, led by bar owner Mark Fitzpatrick, brands itself as, quote, a battle-ready force in the culture war, end quote, railing against LGBTQ inclusion, DEI programs, and public education. Fitzpatrick's bar, the Old State Saloon, will host themed events like heterosexual karaoke and constitutional conservative conga line, led by someone dubbed Dancing Donna. The event announced that special event discounts will be given to XX and XY chromosome holders, though the bar hasn't explained how will they plan to verify anyone's DNA. The bar says, quote, this celebration of traditional gender norms and heterosexual awareness is set to be the talk of those who still believe in the charm of good old-fashioned, non-rainbow colored party, end quote. Events like this aren't new or particularly successful. In 2019, Boston's Straight Pride, hosted by super happy fun American, drew just 100 to 200 attendees, and as widely considered a far-right flop. California's version saw 20 attendees and 200 counter-protesters. I like that demographic. And in 2015, a straight pride march in Seattle had just one participant, the organizer himself. As Boise's queer community prepares to celebrate Pride, many are expected to show up and protest peacefully and proudly. I just love this. Like, this is all these tongue twister events and conga lines and stuff. I've explained this to Al when he first met. I have a dark sense of humor. I would show up just for the hell of it.
Yeah.
In high horror drag, I would show up.
Is that official category, high horror drag?
That should be one. I would make it a category. I was like, hello, I'm here to facilitate high horror drag. I would show up just for the hell of it. This is a mockery. And it's also like they're trying to force it in our face that you're proud to be heterosexual. If you're proud to be heterosexual, just be heterosexual. Right. You have to put on a full-on event that may not draw much attention, because let's be honest, it's you heteros that come over to our Pride and get more drunker than us and more happier than us and in the way of our performances while we're trying to perform and host events. So let's not get it twisted.
And I think what the heterosexual population doesn't understand is that Pride, the parades were initially in retaliation and protest, right? Solidarity. showing that we have to fight for our rights. We
Right.
still have to fight for our rights in 2025.
Yeah.
And the irony is they don't have to fight for any rights.
that's
So maybe that's why there's not much of a turnout, because there's nothing to retaliate against for them,
That's
you know?
really interesting.
So, but it's sad.
But it lets us know we have your attention.
For
And we're
sure.
making you uncomfortable in the right way.
For sure.
For you to have to go on and try to make your own seat at the table. Like,
Yeah.
build your own. You told us that for years before
Well-
this anti-LGBTQ thing started. If you're not at the table, build your own. So we build our own. So what's
Yeah.
the problem now?
That's
But
right.
let's
For-
also not forget that the Southern Poverty Law Center has long included Idaho on its list of hate states due to its proliferation of hate and anti-government groups. And as for the host of this event, Mark Fitzpatrick, I'll just bet Mark Fitzpatrick.
What is the old state
funny.
saloon? Listen to
You
the name
know,
of the bar.
we don't have to try to figure out why
Yeah,
Mark
no.
Fitzpatrick is doing this, because Forrest Gump's mother taught us this, and we should live by it. Stupid is stupid does.
There we go.
And that's what's going. You know, the good news for Mark Fitzpatrick and his announcement, I want to make sure we promote his bar, Old State
Saloon.
Saloon. Yeah,
Old State Saloon.
Here's the good news. Mark, you have every right to do this. I defend your right to do this, because the First Amendment gives you the right to do
course.
this. As offensive as it is, you have the right to do it. So I cheer that. Now, that's it. It's amazing to me that an event called the Heterosexual Awareness Fest.
Such a
not
long name.
fake pride. It's the Heterosexual Awareness Fest.
Fest.
You are in a situation where, like your point of the need to stand up as they were pouring into the Stonewall in 1969, and people were being pulled out by their hair and their ankles, and trans people and people of color were being abused terribly in 1969. That's exactly what is going on in the Old State Saloon in Idaho. Heterosexuals are being discriminated against. Oh, wait.
No.
Right?
No.
That's why this is so silly and funny, and while we laugh
Yeah.
through the entire story, Mark, I can't wait for you to try to identify your discounting, because I might
I
get
wanna
a
see
group
that
of
discount
people
code.
together and file a class action lawsuit to you that we didn't get our discount because you didn't identify that we were XX or XY. It's just a hilarious event. But you have every right to do it. Mark, I can guarantee you that Queer News Tonight is going to report.
Thank you. I was
on
about to ask, are we going to follow this?
We're going to follow this event and cheer your right to do it on every step of the way.
And your right to fail.
But I can imagine on the Monday after your event,
We will cover
are
it.
you going to hear a lot of laughter?
we're gonna
in
cover
South
it.
Florida.
We're going to cover
And
it.
of Idaho and of Boise.
Boise.
Yeah. Good luck to you. All right. Well, that's a big LGBT story for today. Maybe not a big LGBT story. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBT stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight. Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Al Ferguson, and let's queer up faith. Cardinal Müller slams gay lobby before the Pope's vote. In a headline that's stirring debate across the global Catholic community, conservative German Cardinal Gerhard Müller has slammed the new film Conclave, warning fellow cardinals not to behave like the scheming clerics portrayed in it. Speaking to the Times of London, Müller insisted, quote, "It's not a power game played by stupid people looking to manipulate like in this film, which has nothing to do with reality," end quote. But what's making bigger waves, especially for LGBTQ audiences, is his renewed attack on what he calls the homosexual lobbies. That's a quote. In La Stampa, Müller declared, quote, "The homosexual lobbies want to equate unions between people of the same sex to marriage, but this totally contradicts the doctrine of the Bible," end quote. He's not clear whether he means lobbyists inside the Vatican or beyond. But this the rhetoric comes just days before the College of Cardinals convenes to choose the new pope, nearly 80% of whom were appointed by the late Pope Francis, known for a more inclusive tone. The conclave, as it's called, is on the verge of happening as bombshells in resignation through the Vatican. Belgian canon law scholar Rick Torfs told the London Times that the majority of the cardinals voting for the next pope are probably gay, despite church teachings labeling homosexuality as sinful. Müller has long clashed with Pope Francis, especially after the Pope allowed blessings for same-sex couples last year. Müller called it, quote, an obvious heresy, end quote. As the conclave nears, LGBTQ Catholics and allies, both outside and inside the church around the world, are watching closely. Because what happens in the Sistine Chapel won't just shape doctrine, it may define the church's future stance on love, identity, and belonging. The decision at conclave will have significant effects on the entire LGBTQ community, as the new pope dramatically influences both political and public opinion on gay acceptance. It's an interesting story. First off, I want to go back to the Catholic scholar. There has been lots of reporting, we have reported it, that as high as 80% estimates of Catholic clergy are gay men. They're closeted gay men. His statistic that he has given to London Times on the Cardinals is breathtaking. Now, of course, there's no litmus test to prove that, but it is widely believed that a majority of Catholic clergy are actually closeted gay men. So it's interesting of that contradiction. If you have seen the movie Conclave, very interesting. I literally was gobsmacked at the end of the movie. The movie's been out for a long time, so I'm not spoiling. This is a spoiler alert, but the trans storyline at the end of the Pope that is selected is really an interesting storyline, and some plausibility because of the personality of the cardinals, which is being discussed just this week. So, you're not in the bed, you're not in the bedroom, you're not lifting the skirts, so you don't know. It's an interesting story. One last thing about the conclave. For LGBT, if you're not following the conclave, you should be. It is incredibly important. Catholics make up 1/3 to 25% of the entire population of this planet. And what is led by the Pope is very powerful, both on the politics of countries and on the populist opinion of our people. Two leading contenders of cardinals for the Pope. One is a Filipino cardinal who could be the first from Asia, considered very liberal, has been very pro on his acceptance of LGBT and doing a message of love of the LGBTQ community. One of the other leading contenders is a cardinal from Hungary who is friends with the Iron Fist dictator of Hungary, who has now banned any representation of LGBT in the country, cited by that cardinal. Now, for LGBT worldwide, in America's influence, in Europe's influence, in South America's influence, in Asia's influence, who would we want to be the next pope? You have a clear choice, all decided by this conclave. So I highly recommend we watch the next day. It's very important for us.
Personally, I think that this tired, old, bejeweled creature in fancy shoes with a smoking purse, who is as disgusting as Pope Benedict XVI, aka Cardinal Rat, should just shut the fuck up. Old men in brocade gowns shouldn't throw stones.
Oh, Oh,
Oh, I thought the movie was actually really amazing and brought to light a lot of really important things. Like at the end of the day, these are men with ambition.
yeah.
And,
It's
there's a lot of, it's politics.
We're competing the
Exactly.
Kamala Trump in the Vatican at Sistine Chapel.
100%.
Yes.
So sure, there's going to be a
It's
cat
a
fight,
dirty little secret that
Of
they don't
course.
want to talk about, and we understand that, don't we? We know
Power.
there's power
Yeah.
and there's money, and so those two things, even in the church, create a situation. But there's better power and worse power, and that's our hope of what's is going to happen.
And you get to ride in the Pope Mobile.
Yeah.
God help us all.
That's right. And I'm a person of faith. I watch these days and go, I'm very hopeful.
Yeah.
That Filipino cardinal, I forgive me for not being able to remember his name, but his selection by the conclave would just be astounding in our world. It would have dramatic effect in the world, and
He would continue Francis's vision, which would be amazing.
and perhaps even to the next step, because Francis, at the end of the day, while we are positive about what he did and many of the things that he said, it's still a mixed bag. He takes one step forward, maybe two steps back.
Didn't he use some anti-gay slurs?
Yeah, and a lot of people argue that was a language issue.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, he's not Joe Biden, etc. So this new pope, fingers crossed, could really have significant effects on helping heal the religious faith. And one other thing of why this is important is lots of people make the joke in social media that our vice president went to Rome and had the Pope killed. So,
I saw that. I saw social media around that.
Blood on his hooves.
I'm done. I'm done. I'm out of here.
The
all
following
right,
day,
but watch the conclave, because it's really, we're living in a time where dramatic, positive, maybe dramatic negative things could happen. That is a big LGBT story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBT stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Franchesca D'Amore, and let's queer up the worldview. Eurovision bans on-stage display of pride flags, sparking LGBTQ backlash. A new policy from the Eurovision Song Contest has sparked outrage in the global LGBTQ community. This year, contestants at Eurovision will not be allowed to display pride flags on stage or at official events. This change is according to new guidance from the European Broadcasting Union, or EBU, which organizes the contest. Performers and their teams can only show the official flag of the country they are representing, whether it's on the main stage, in the green room, or at the turquoise carpet event. The EBU claims the rule is meant to ensure clarity about which country is being represented, but critics say it goes much further. The new rules also ban expressions of solidarity with Palestine and Ukraine. However, audience members at this year's event in Basel, Switzerland, will be allowed to wave any flag allowed under Swiss law, including pride flags. Still, LGBTQ+ rights groups are calling foul. Dutch group COC Nederland called the policy ridiculous, saying it's like banning people from holding hands or wearing earrings. Maria Sodin, the executive director of Outreach International, put it bluntly, quote, "Limiting expressions of support for equality through flags, colors, or words weakens the spirit of Eurovision, which thrives on diversity, creativity, and freedom," end quote. You know, this is so crazy because if you've watched any Eurovision contest before, there have been so many diverse contestants and winners, drag queens, openly bisexual people, trans, lesbian. So I don't know. Do you think this might be just in alliance with what's happening in the world and in Europe as well, with anti-LGBT policies or thoughts? I don't know.
Or could this be like a safety measure for no attack? I mean, I'm trying to look at it. I'm trying to give it another look, with to your point, with everything that's going on, like, for lack of it, let's tone it down so everybody can participate. And then, if this blows over, then we can uplift. I don't know, because hearing you speak about it, you said they were so inclusive. You could self-identify without fear. You could represent yourself through your attire, your flag, your personality, your talent. Now they're just stopping it. So, I mean, could this be like, could we forward think like maybe this is a safety measure?
It could be. That's an interesting way of looking at it. I'm looking at it also from a viewpoint of.
While you were reading, I didn't hear hate. I just said they just said you can't do it. You don't bring your flag.
You make an interesting observation, and I will say one of the things that this story and issue reminds me of is similar to what we're seeing in different places, including Florida, to ban pride flags. And the reason why they're doing that is they want to take the politics of rainbow activism out of the discord. And it feels like Eurovision is kind of thinking that, but they found a very weak defense. We want to make sure that everyone knows you're from Canada, so you can only fly the Canadian flag, because we don't want to confuse the reader, or the viewer rather. It seems like such a lame
and it's
answer.
An insult to the viewer that the viewer wouldn't be able to tell.
Yeah, exactly. And as it relates to the question about, is this something that we're seeing going on around the world, I will just make the connection that a very positive thing is happening internationally. There is a growing rejection of MAGAism and Trumpism. All over the world. Sure. Australia had an overwhelming rejection of the Uber candidate. Canada had a very significant rejection, largely saying, hell no, we don't want to be your 51st state. Right. And France has done it, and there's growing intent. Poland just eliminated its last LGBT free zone. So there is a very more diverse, inclusive mentality going on in many places in the world. Eurovision may be caught up in that transition of going, oh wait, maybe we went too far here by saying that, because we're seeing around us that there is greater and greater support.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it's going to take on, it didn't take on in Florida this year. House Bill 75 was rejected, so third year in a row. Yeah. That gives me a lot of hope that the rest of the world is taking suit as well, and the country as well.
Yeah, and of course we all hope that that'll be the case. One interesting thing for viewers that do not know Eurovision, it's the most popular television program in Europe by far. There's nothing even close to it. It's one of the most popular song contests. In the height of American Idol in season 1 and season 2, American Idol wasn't even close to Eurovision in its importance and viewership. So this is a big deal in Europe. And it's going to be interesting to see, because as this is implemented, I just can't even begin to tell you, like when you said there's been so much diversity, how badly this rule is going to be bastardized, because there's going to be performers that are going to say, hell no, and whoop, out comes whatever flag that they want.
Or dressing in rainbow colors.
Yes, so
there are ways you can get around it.
Yeah, exactly. But it'll be interesting to watch. And at the end of the day, a rainbow flag, how does that harm and hurt somebody? I just don't understand it.
Skittles.
Well, that is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBT stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Gregg Shapiro. Let's queer up entertainment. Queer music trailblazer Jill Sobule dies at 66 in house fire. Jill Sobule, the queer singer-songwriter behind the groundbreaking hit I Kissed a Girl, has died. She was 66. Her publicist confirmed to the Associated Press that Sobule passed away last week in the morning in a house fire in Woodbury, Minnesota. She had been staying with friends while rehearsing for her one-woman show, Fuck 7th Grade, set to return to her hometown of Denver. Officials say firefighters responded to the blaze around 5:30 a.m. The cause is under investigation. Sobule made history in 1995 with I Kissed a Girl, the first openly queer song to chart in Billboard's Modern Rock Top 20, despite bans from some radio stations. The track was featured on her self-titled album, which also included Supermodel, made famous in the Clues movie and on the soundtrack. Over nearly 3 decades, Sobule released 10 studio albums, 5 EPs, and 3 live recordings. Her latest release was this year. Her shows tackled themes from the death penalty to adolescent awkwardness, always with wit and authenticity. Her manager, John Porter, called her, quote, a force of nature and a human rights advocate, end quote. Friend and comedian Margaret Cho, who worked with Sobule in 2009, also paid tribute, saying, quote, this is not real to me. I am in shock, end quote. In place of Friday night's now canceled performance, the Denver venue will host a remembrance where fans can share songs and stories. The memorial celebration is planned for the summer. I'm a little emotional about this terrible tragedy right now. She was truly a one-of-a-kind talent, and her absence is an immeasurable loss. I wrote a personal tribute to Jill Sobule that you can now read online. Went out today in the Bay Area Reporter in San Francisco.
Oh, nice.
EBAR.com, and it's also in Out South Florida at OutSFL.com. That's a picture on screen of me and Jill in 2000 at a show she was doing outside of Chicago, and it's terrible. It's really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, loss like this is just empty. It's just loss. And one thing that I think is wonderful that I did not know her, I did not meet her. I'm jealous of you, Greg. One of the things, and very nice that you wrote for the Bay Area Reporter on it, because I know that publication in San Francisco, by the way, would appreciate it very much. One of the things that I think is really interesting as a tribute to her, and I'm sure she knew this, and I'm sure fans of her knew this, but one of the most, I read a number of things about her, and there was a lot of comment about her activism of that song and how there was rejection in certain areas. Widely, this will come as no surprise, somebody made the comment that Idaho basically didn't play the song. Surprise, surprise.
Circle moment.
Yeah, right. We need a heterosexual bride there. So you think about, that was just 1995. Mm-hmm. That was just 1995.
30 years ago.
That's how far community has gone. Mm-hmm. Now, the radical haters for power and money are churning it up again. But in general, even with their churn, we have come so far. And one of the things that, even not having met her, that I have empathy for her importance in our community, is that radio wouldn't play the song because they thought it was radical or X-rated that 2 women would kiss each other.
But now the irony of that is that about 10 or so years ago, the horrifically untalented Katy Perry did a song called I Kissed a Girl.
And America went gaga,
they went crazy
literally over
it.
Seriously. It's just a representation of you can be ahead of your time.
Yeah,
and
she was.
And her passing. Yeah. And I'm quite sure that your emotional response to it is part of that. You met, you understood who she was, you recognized that for the community, the women's community, and really our entire community of propelling LGBT rights, she was ahead of her time. Her passing, I think that's worth celebrating. That she'll be missed for that.
In honor of her, someone should go close with the speaker in Idaho and Bluetooth and play her song.
Drive
really
around
loud.
Play it
And
at
drive around
Heterosexual
really
Pride
at
Fest
Heterosexual
in Boise.
Pride
I
Fest.
love
Yeah,
that.
that's
Drive around really loud
that's
and
a
play
great
it
idea.
in honor of
Let's do it.
Yeah,
I'm for it.
Girl, you would
Picture.
be both.
The car,
Let's do it.
Bullhorns, car karaoke, and sing along. And then tag
High
them,
or drag.
sing
We'll
along.
do it. You would be both.
You look like you know the words. Sing along.
That is a great idea. Let's do
that.
that. All right. Except that would mean we'd have to go to Boise.
Ew.
All right. Well, that is a big LGBT story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBT stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight. Those are today's headlines from Queer News Tonight. These anchors represent the best of our LGBTQ and ally community.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform. Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines.
We need your support. If our community is to grow and then thrive, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Camille Lewis, Franchesca D'Amore, and Gregg Shapiro, we will see you daily at 8 p.m. And to our LGBTQ world, we hope you will join us by embracing love, generosity, bravery, be transformative, and queer. Good night.
Good night.